Okay, so today is a video on how to replace the shock tower, the front shock tower, and it goes by the part number 85438, and it says it's the rear shock tower when you're buying it, but it comes with basically everything. This is like the whole rear assembly, that piece, and that piece, and then this is for the front area, right there. See? It only comes in one piece like that as a rear shock tower set. So just in case you're buying it, just for what to look for. And these are basically broken, as you can see. This thing basically hit it, and it stripped the insides and broke it right there. So we're going to be replacing those today. And so the first step in this process is basically to remove those pins, or that C-clip. You remove the C-clip, and this will slide out, and then this should basically pop out. Should. Okay, so that's your first step. Okay, after you remove that pin suspension arm, the upper suspension arm should basically just be sitting there on the shock, or if you're on a table, it will be sitting up. Basically, when you took the C-clip off there, you basically got the pin, which held it in, the C-clip, and then a spacer and a spacer, and I'll show you how the spacer goes on later on. Okay, so that's that. Okay, now the next step to this is to remove this. Now once you remove that, this will be able to adjust and everything. If, like this is a little bit disconnected, you would have to disconnect that as well. But since ours is just basically stripped inside and it's not even getting held there, I'm not going to take it out, and I'm just going to take that one out. So basically, your next step is to take that one out and that one out as well, if you have to. Okay, so that's your next step. Okay, so there should have been a screw that once you unscrew that, that'll basically come off. And that is basically that screw. Once you've done that, it should, and of course after you've done that, it should only be attached right here to that X brace. So now you're going to be able to move it, and so once you move it, now you can get to that area easier and undo that. So that's your next step, is basically to remove that. Okay, so after you remove that screw that held that X brace right there to the shock tower, you're basically going to have your shock tower out. Right, and then after this, you can basically go ahead and get your new shock towers like this, and cut it off the spruce, which is right there and right there. Then you might want to sand it down as well. Sand it down a little bit there, and at this edge, so that it's a clean fit and finish. Okay, so that's basically your next step. Okay, and so basically how you're going to do that is just get some pliers like this that have a little bit of sharp edge, and this is the spruce, and you're going to want to put the ends nice and flush towards the piece you're cutting. You're just going to squeeze it, and of course it'll come off. And so I already did the other one, so this is basically how it is now. And I'm going to trim this little piece off the top, and I'm going to sand it down here, sand it right there where that piece was connected, and sand it a little bit there, so now it's nice and flush. And then after that, you're going to go ahead and reinstall it. Okay, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay, so that's basically it. Okay, so now what you're going to do is place your shock tower back, like the new one, and you're going to screw in this part just like before. And yeah, just make sure, just do it a little bit. Don't tighten it all the way so that it can still go in there, but not sit completely. And that way you can still move it around a little bit and then get all these in perfectly, and then tighten it up basically at the end. Okay, so that's your next step. Okay, so after you've done that just a little bit, you can go ahead and move on to this one, and basically this will basically get it placed. I said basically too many times, but whatever. Okay, so that's that. That was that big screw that was here. And you're basically going to put that one in, screw it in. See how this one still pops up a lot? That one's basically flush. So put that in. Then you're going to take this other screw, which remember you guys had to remove for that. I also removed it anyways. You're going to place it right there, back in that hole, and screw it in just a little bit, Okay, and that is basically your next step, putting that one and that one in, but not screwing it in fully, just to get it fitted in there basically. Okay. Okay, so almost your last step is to basically, jeez, I say basically so much, is to go ahead and screw everything in now, since you have that one in, that one in, that one in. So now you're going to tighten everything, but make sure it also lines up here, you know. And then, so now tighten up everything up here. And then the last step will be, of course, attaching this back up. Okay. Okay, so basically the last step is to put the pin in. Okay, and you put the pin in. Alright. And then you put the little spacer. Alright. And then after that, so basically it goes pin, suspension arm, spacer, this whole assembly over here, then another spacer, suspension arm, and then you put the last C-clip on. Okay? So that's basically the last step of what you got to do. Just make sure everything lines up, and it may be a little bit hard, but you know, just wiggle some stuff around and twist the pin a little bit to get it in, and make sure to put the spacers in. Remember, pin, suspension arm, spacer, assembly, spacer, suspension arm, and the clip. Okay, so that's basically it. Okay, so now you're basically done. I said basically again. Okay, you've done the pin in there, you've done the clip, and now you just basically need to do the same thing. I said basically again. Now you need to do the same thing, except on the other side, and you'll be done. And then you can go out there and drive your Baja again. So thanks for watching, and I hope you can subscribe and watch more of my videos.